Welcome to Brain Wellness, the podcast. I'm your host, Mandi NP. What started as all things related to brain health and wellness has morphed into largely brain injury health and wellness, with occasional other neurological topics. My mission remains the same, to help you on the path to a healthier brain. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. My guest today is me. So today I'm just doing a quick little episode to kind of share with you a new resource that is coming out later this week. So I kind of hinted to it a while ago. I have a new book finally launching this week. I didn't get it going quite as quickly as I wanted it to. I wanted it out for July 1st, but it was close. It's close. So middle of July here, it is coming out. So I wanted to come on and share a little bit about that today. And then next week, we'll get back into the normal interviews and topics. But what this book consists of is all of the years of experience that I had in providing care for patients that had concussions and then my own. So if you recall, last year, I came out with my book, Welcome Back, a TBI recovery story from provider to patient. And that was the first year of my recovery. So it's been a while since I did an update of that. And people keep asking me when I'm going to do the next version to talk about kind of what happened next after that first year. Because 2 more years have gone by in my recovery, and a lot has changed in those 2 years since I wrote that first book. So when we're talking about that first Welcome Back book, it's very different than what my life looks like right now. And there are more resources that I need to include in there. So there will be a second edition or second version of that book that comes out 2.0 something. I still haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to name that one. I wanted to wait until I'm more back to regular life. But that said, I don't know what regular life looks like anymore. So this might be my new norm. And things are I'm fine-tuning things, but I haven't really changed a whole lot in the last 4 months, I guess. I updated my work. I'm working 4 days a week now instead of the 3 that I was ending 2025. We're in 2026 now. Gosh, yeah. My words are really hard this last week, guys. So I apologize if I stumble over words and if I recreate words or create new words and create new timelines, because my brain is not 100% on par. There's a lot of stress in life right now. Things are a little loosey-goosey with the word situation here. A lot of neologisms, making up some new words. I did that in one of my appointments earlier today. So yeah, fun stuff. Anywho, back to what we're doing, because I have a little bit of the ADHDs going on some days. But so that first book that I put out on concussion was more my experience. That was my experience. It chronicled kind of what happened in that first year of my journey, which, yes, there will be a next installment of that at some point. But the new book coming out this week is not the next version of that. It is not the next installment. It is something completely different. It can be more of a reference tool for both people that have had brain injury as well as caregivers. Think of it kind of like, I guess, a textbook, if you will, because I do have a lot of references in there to show you that things have changed over time. There's a lot going on here. So without further ado, a little drum roll here, what it looks like if you're watching on video. Here it is. Concussion Help, advice from a nurse practitioner / TBI survivor. So if you recall way back several years ago, my very first book was Migraine Help from a Unicorn Nurse Practitioner. I dropped the Unicorn Nurse Practitioner part of the title. It's cute, but I thought I'd be a little bit more professional looking this time. So it's just a big old brain on the front of the cover there. So Concussion Help, advice from a nurse practitioner, TBI survivor. No, this is not the official cover. This is a fake little cover because I can't get hard copies of the book quite yet. I am going to a book fair this coming weekend. If you're in Minneapolis, right after this episode comes out here, there is the book fair for grownups at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. And I will be there with a table with both of my old books and hopefully some of the new book if I can get them in time. But I don't know that shipping will get there in time. So we shall see what happens with that one. But what am I covering in this book? It's really a really kind of outline help book with all of the things. If you wondered what it's like to sit in an appointment with me and hear about all the things that I recommend to my concussion patients, my TBI patients, this is what I talk about all day long. So day in and day out, does this replace the advice of actually sitting in an office with me or somebody like me? No. But it can give you an idea of what's out there and what you can do. And if you're a provider, this can give you some insights on what you can do for your patients and what's there, what's supported by the research, what has been proven beneficial, because I don't have anything in this book that's not been proven beneficial. And many of these things I've tried because I like to guinea pig myself first before I put it out for my patients. So there are 11 chapters in the book, breaking it down to the symptoms of concussion, the risks of concussion. So what are those risk factors that might put you at higher risk of having a concussion? The diagnosis of concussion. How do we diagnose it? And then breaking it down a little bit further into next, what do we do about it? So standard care. What is our standard practice that we follow right? If you were to go to see anybody for potentially a concussion, what are some of those standard things you might get referred to or get diagnosed with or prescribed? I guess I should say. That's the word I was looking for. And then beyond that, what is beyond that standard? What else is out there? Because if you've been listening along on my journey and all the things that I've talked about on this show, there's so much more out there than just what's listed as our standard care, our standard practice. So there's a lot that I would love to see as standard practice at some point. This next chapter, so chapter 5, I'm hoping is all the things that will eventually become standard practice for somebody that has a concussion. They come into your office, they've got a concussion, or you were the person having the concussion and you need care. I'm hoping chapter 5 is all of those things that will eventually be standard practice that you will get recommended or that you will recommend to your patients. Next, I talk about supplements because I love supplements, and there is not a single prescription medication that treats concussion. There are prescription medications that treat the symptoms of concussion, such as migraine treatment. Hello, I wrote a book on that one. So that's already there. That's already published. There's a lot of stuff that you can find on prescription medications for the symptoms of concussion. But there are a lot of supplements that can be helpful. And I kind of break down all of those supplements, who might benefit from it, what might it be good for it, why is it beneficial, what's the research to say that it's beneficial, what kind of dose might you be looking at, because people will try to dose themselves. And you might be a little bit off on the dosing if you dose yourself. So what kind of dose might work? But again, this does not replace that medical advice. You still need to run it by your provider. So there's check boxes in there. You can check, what have I tried? What have I not tried? What would I like to try? Bring that to your provider, show them that there's research, and then they can potentially discuss whether or not it might be right for you, because any of those supplements could potentially interact with your prescription medications that the provider already has you on. So it's good to know what you're looking at. And then nutrition. What kind of nutrition things would be good for a brain that's healing after a concussion? Talk about prevention. Can we actually prevent a concussion? Maybe, maybe not. We've talked about some of those things on this show so far. And then the long-term effects. What are some of those long-term effects that can happen? What kind of other areas in life can be affected? And finally, wrapping up the book with some resources. Where can you go to find more information? I have had many of these things on the show as we talk about them. So one of the resources is the Dysautonomia Project for patients that have autonomic nervous system dysfunction. There's a questionnaire on their website that I have my patients, almost all of them, complete now if I consider the potential of them having some autonomic nervous system dysfunction, which the book talks about all of that as well. So there's a questionnaire, and there's the link information is listed in the book so that you can find that questionnaire. Some of the other resources, Love Your Brain. We've had Love Your Brain here on the show, as well as the Dysautonomia Project. So Love Your Brain, Kyla Pierce came on here. We talked about some of the resources through Love Your Brain. I refer patients there all the time for the mindfulness and yoga program, and they have caregiver programs as well. Hope Survives. Another reference that I had met last year was the founder of Hope Survives. She will be coming on the podcast at some point, I promise. But Hope Survives has a lot of really good references, resources for individuals and their families as well. A lot of mental health support for those people, because it's really, really important that we have that as well. So there's information to find them. Brain injury associations / alliances. That's been a big kick that I've covered on this show for the last 6 months, is trying to get all of the states covered at some point. That's my goal on this show, is to have all of the states covered at some point. So as we've been talking about all the different state associations and alliance programs, all the whatever they call themselves, they all have really good resources for the community that they serve so that people can get the help that they need there as well. Some of the states offer something called resource facilitation, which my state does. So I talked about that in there as well. And then kind of got into some of the more specifics, the work comp type of issues, having a QRC. What does workers' compensation cover? What does disability cover? What are waiver programs? How do you deal with legal aspect of concussions? Advocacy groups. And I'm realizing I need to make one quick little update because I need to talk about something like me. So I'm glad that the book isn't quite ready to go because I need to add another paragraph to that, talking about myself and people like me and what we can do. Because yes, I'm writing this book, but you still need to see people in person because everything is very individualized when it comes to concussion care. No two concussions look alike. No two concussions receive the exact same care. All I do is see TBI concussion all day long. So every single one of my patients that comes to see me has had a concussion or a more severe form of TBI. So they've all had a head injury. You would think that it'd be very similar, and there are similar things that we talk about, but it's not the same from everybody to everybody. So patient A, B, C, D throughout my day, there are little things that are different with all of them. Supplements that I recommend based on what's going on with their particular concern. Do they need a prescription medication? If so, which one are we going to choose? There are so many different routes that we can go for treatment that are still not all encompassed in this book because I can't write everything in a book and have it still be readable at that point because there's so much that can be covered. But just the nuances, the intricacies of dealing with the brain injured population, everybody is different. Everybody has different needs. So this is kind of to get people going past the tip of the iceberg that we were taught in school. So in nursing school, medical school, PT, OT, whatever rehab program that you did your training in, if you're a professional in this area, there's only so much that we were taught in school. And when we look at the things that we need to know beyond what school taught us, there's not a really good reference point to find all of that information. So I created one. I know there are a lot of people out there with books, and I've had a lot of really great guests on this show with books, and I would probably recommend all of them for different reasons. But of course, I'm going to recommend mine because it's mine. So I do encourage you to take a look at the book when it gets out there. And by the time this show comes out at the end of this week here, the book should be coming out as well. So look for this blue little cover on there. And yeah, we'll get moving on that one. So that is where we're at with the book that's coming out. And I'm really excited for that. Really excited to share all that information with everybody that's listening and everybody that's potentially reading the book. Beyond that, stay tuned because right after this little recording, I'm going to add a recording I did actually a couple weeks ago that I just haven't figured out what to do with it yet. So I'm going to tag it on to this one here so you can hear it today because I want to talk about the resources that help me get through my day. And it's really meant to be visual. So if you're listening to this on any of the audible formats of the podcast, I do recommend that you try to go to the YouTube version to see the visuals because visuals are kind of fun when we're doing all of these things. So the visuals are really important because you can see the products that I talk about because I do just go through the list of what kind of tools that I get through my day with. So bear with me. Hold on for just a moment. We'll come back and we will talk about my list of what's going on. But before I do that, I do want to remind you that if you like what you hear on this show, if you get any benefit from it, please like, follow, subscribe to the show, share it with other people, get the word out there so that more people hear this information because everybody keeps telling me it's great information. I just want more people to hear it. I don't even care about the monetary value. Would I love to get paid for the show? Yes, but I just want more people to hear it. So if you like what you hear, please share the information wide and far, all the things. So now stay tuned for my list of tips and tricks to get me through my day. Hey guys, I've had several people ask me lately, what kind of things help you get through the day? And as somebody with a traumatic brain injury, there are many tools that I have to have with me at all time so that I can be successful in all that I do. Number one is a really good water bottle. And I'm not getting paid by any of the companies from any of the things that I'm going to talk about today. I wish I kind of could be. So if you are with any of those companies, feel free to reach out if you'd like to have an ad on my podcast or whatever. And have me kind of ambassador your products, because I speak of these products all the time. I use them all the time and they help me through my day. So number one is a really good water bottle. This one happens to be Nalgene, but I've got a few, but a really good water bottle. And this one is an entire liter, because with somebody that has autonomic dysfunction, it is recommended 2 to 3 liters of water a day. And I do tell my patients that all the time too. And I do practice what I preach. So I go through at least one of these during the day at work, and then I usually refill it when I get home, and I always have water with my meals. So I do get to my 2 liters pretty much every day. So what goes in here? Yes, water goes in here, but I also have a couple of powders that absolutely must go in there every single day. That is not a negotiable for me. Number one is electrolytes. I always talk about electrolytes, and Ultima has been my favorite. This used to be the drink of choice for Grandma's Marathon in Duluth here in Minnesota for the longest time, and that's when I started using Ultima, and I have not given it up ever since, and that was 20 some years ago. I like it because it's not as processed as some of the other ones. There's like 0 sugar in here. So yeah, and it tastes really good. Lemonade is my favorite. There's lots of different flavors, but lemonade is definitely my favorite. So one little scoop of that goes in my water bottle at least once a day. Creatine, there's a lot of research to show that it can help with brain healing. And there are some differences with how well you absorb the different kinds of creatine. And I did so happen to have the creator of this one on my podcast not that long ago, a concrete creatine. So creatine hydrochloride, I do this one. I'm typically 1 scoop a day. I don't usually do more than that, but sometimes I will add a second one. Raspberry is my favorite on that one, and raspberry and lemon together makes a really good combination. And you do need some kind of electrolytes when you are taking creatine. So taking it with it is a phenomenal idea right there. So that's my go-to. That's something I fill up first thing every single day. I'm using a different water bottle today, so I can show you that one because I just had to wash it. That I fill up every single morning and take that with me wherever I go. From Etsy, I ordered this little metal holder because my car does not have cup holders big enough to hold my big 1-liter bottles. So on Etsy, I found a little metal thing that fits right into my car, goes right along the kind of the casters under the seat and fits on there and screws in. So it screws in place, it can hold my water bottle so it's not flopping around on the seat or anything else either. So that literally goes everywhere with me. Another thing that goes everywhere with me, I don't have them in right now because it doesn't really make sense with my headphones when I'm recording, but my hearing aids. So yes, I use hearing aids, not necessarily because I have lost hearing, but because I have gained, essentially. So I have something called auditory processing disorder after my injury, that things were too loud. I couldn't understand what people were saying in loud environments. I couldn't go to a restaurant and understand what the wait staff was saying, for example, and having a conversation with anybody at the table was really difficult. These things have made a world of difference. So they quiet down all the excess noise for me so that I can focus on the world around me. And it has made going to my kids' band and choir and drama activities so much more enjoyable because I can go and I can listen and I can catch the humor and the storyline in the theatrical presentation, for example. So my hearing aids have been a lifesaver for me. So I put those in pretty much every morning. Sometimes I take a break from it on the weekend if I'm not doing a whole lot. The next thing that I do on a daily basis, and I practice what I preach on this one, I take a lot of supplements. So I have a pull organizer. I know this looks really big, but I take a lot of supplements. So I take all the things that I recommend to my patients. I take the B vitamins, the vitamin D, the magnesium, the CoQ10, the fish oil. I also have lutein for my eyes. What else do I have in here? 5-HTP for my mood stabilization, curcumin, anti-inflammatory. So there's lots of things in here. That is my also lifesaver because I don't always remember if I've taken my pills or not. So if I can see that space is missing for today, yes, I've taken them. And the other thing that I have with me at all times is my Remarkable tablet. This thing I talk about so much because it is truly remarkable. It works like a regular tablet. So when you write on it, it feels like you're writing on a notebook. And this is as bright as it gets. There's no backlight. It's not like the Kindle that has that backlight that's really bright and hurts your eyes. It's not connected to the internet at all times, so you don't have the dinging of notifications of Facebook or whatever. So there's no interruptions. It's literally an electronic notebook. You can communicate with the cloud by sharing things back and forth. When I go to conferences, I'll pull the PDFs so I can take notes on it, the notes from the presentation, and it feels like you're writing with an actual pen. I love this thing. My patients always kind of comment on it, and everybody asks about it in clinic, and I've got my little fancy case for it too. So that goes everywhere with me. Also, I usually have a bag big enough that I can bring it with if there's something that I'm going to that I have to take notes for. A medical appointment, again, conferences that I go to, meetings that I have, all those things. I always have a ponytail holder because I have big, thick hair. And if my autonomic nervous system goes a little crazy, my hair starts getting sweaty and I don't feel great. So I got to get my hair off the back of my neck. So ponytail holder goes with me at all times as well. That's usually in my pocket if it's not already on my head. Sometimes I'll have it on my wrist as well. At the ready, I also have a bunch of these reusable ice packs in the freezer because, again, if my nervous system gets out of whack, I get sweaty really easily. That calms me down. So on my chest, on the back of my neck, on my belly, forehead, wherever I need it, that ice pack is ready to go. Sometimes things just get overwhelming, and I do have my foldable noise-canceling headphones. Those don't usually go places with me, but for at home, we've got 3 teenagers, 2 dogs, and a husband. Things get loud around this house, and there are times when I just need to retreat to my bedroom and tune out the world, and sometimes I have to do that at night because it's really noisy at night. The other 2 things I almost forgot to talk about, one of them is on my face. So my prism glasses, I also have my everyday glasses, so I do have 2 pairs of prisms. These ones are for at the computer, and these ones are for anytime. I use my everyday ones at work so that I can room my patients, do my documentation, see them, all the things. When I'm doing my podcast, anything that I'm just at the computer, I'm wearing my computer ones because those help me see clearly as well and decrease cognitive fatigue. And the very last thing is my Apollo nervous system stimulator. So my vagus nerve stimulator, that's been super important. I've tried multiple different nervous system stimulators. They've all shown benefit, so I can't say that any of them really weren't helpful, but this one is the least intrusive. It's just on my wrist at all times. It has automatic settings that I'll use throughout the day, and then there are settings that I can choose if I have a headache, if I'm feeling fatigued, if I need a little boost of energy, all of those little things. So that's something that I have on me at all times, except for when it's getting charged. So those are all of the tools of my trade that get me through my day. If you have something that gets through your day, I'd love to hear about it. And I'm always open to learning more about new things. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found something helpful out of this. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share it so that others can benefit. Please also consider supporting the show by buying me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. You can also go to www.brainwellnesssolutions.com to catch the latest info and get links on all of the social medias there. See you next time.